Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to the 7th night of Frames Representation Film Festival. We are getting close to an end, sadly, but tonight we are very, very happy to introduce the UK premiere of The Son by Alexander Abaturov. The Son was world premiered a couple of months ago at Berlinale and represents Alexander's first feature length. A film, it's an observational and very meditative work. It's a film that, with a tone that is both simultaneously empathetic and detached, the film negotiates very complex ethical questions when it comes to not only war, but when it comes to representation of the state and violence. And it's also a very, very personal film that offers a very sensitive portrait on family grief. These will be aspects that we will explore after the film, because Alexander will be with us. Actually, he arrived only 1 hour ago from Paris due to visa and diplomacy issues. And he will be with us with Nick Bradshaw. Nick is a web editor at Sight and Sound. And before we welcome Alexander here for a few words to introduce the film, I also want to say that after The Son, we will present the UK premiere of Meteors by Gujan Keltek. Gujan will be with us as well. And this also allows me to say the last thing, that we are so grateful to all the filmmakers. One more time, thank you to all these directors that are coming to stay with us and to present their films. For the first time, Frames is presenting 19 films, 13 full-length features and 6 shorts, and every single filmmaker is in attendance, helping us to build that sense of community that we want to build through this festival. Now, please join me in welcoming Alexander Abaturov.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was quite an adventure to come here, but with a happy end I'm here and very glad to see you all. And thanks a lot for the team of Frames of Representation and ICA to share this moment with you and my work. It's very private and intimate subject and the film, but I try to left you a room for your thoughts and feelings. So don't be afraid if you don't see some manifesto or some declaration of something. I'm pretty confident, and you're gonna make your own opinion, and I would like to talk to you after and respond to your questions and have your feedback. So have a good screening. I'm so excited. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone. So I'm Nick Bradshaw. I'm web editor at Sight and Sound, and I'd like to welcome Alexander to the stage.
Thank you very much.
So, Alexander, it's a very powerful movie. I think that's one of the great last shots. It packs a real punch. It's also, of course, you know, it's a fascinating layered movie in terms of the address, perhaps, who it's for, and certainly who it's about and what they mean to you. So we'll have to kind of find out for you what it is that you're, you know, you want to sort of unpack for us, and what the sort of layers of meaning are for you. But certainly, since we have you, I wonder if we can just start on what your kind of initial hopes and intentions for the film were. Once you got your sad news, what went through your mind, and as a filmmaker.
My English is not so good, so if it's you don't understand me, don't hesitate to ask. You know. So and thank you for being here. It's important for me to share it with you. And so the film was started when I knew that Dima was dead, and I was not in Russia, I was in France, and I called my family and trying to support them, but actually I would not be able at all. And the strength of my aunt and my uncle is incredible. Actually, that was them who trying to say something to me to calm me down, because I was very angry and shocked. And my aunt, she told me, now you gotta to make a movie, a film about it. And now I think she said it to me just to, to change my ideas, to put me on something that I could do, to think about it. And in the beginning I was pretty sure that it's not possible, it's too hard, but with the time it was a kind of possibility to do something in the situation when it's hard to do, what you're gonna do. And basically, I was trying to speak about the life of my cousin, who was not, who never was dreaming about to be in the army, and he found himself inside, because in Russia, as you know, we got a military service, so you got to do it. And when I got an authorization and I started to filming, I discovered that the army, it's not something abstract. Actually, it's just young boys, just like Dima. And I wanted to talk about their lives also. And the idea was, the situation to make a film about somebody who's not even here. It's a pretty complicated question. So I decided that I will film the family, because what I think is the most important. That's why it's called The Son. And in the army, it's through the others, the other boys, that I can make appear Dima and make him present. And from the other way, Dima was kind of image of everyone. So that was the basic of the project.
And what did you sort of hope or expect that you might get out of everyone you were able to film, in terms of what they would be willing to sort of show you or perform for you, or open up about?
Yeah, it's actually a very closed community. For us, I never been in the army. I'm a civilian guy, and for civilians, the military guys, it's like civilian guys, but in this funny suits, But for the military, the civilians, it's the guys from another universe. They do not communicate about their jobs actually, and with my family, we was authorized to film inside, because it's there is no chance you can go with the camera in the army and the special forces in Russia to make a film about it. But they opened the doors. It wasn't official. It was like semi-official way, in Russian way. Yeah, it's actually the Russia. It's where it's a country with a totalitarianism, and everything is prohibited. It's not allowed. But actually, we could do whatever we like if we know how to do it, So it was a funny part. But for me, I wasn't about the officers in the bureaus who make a decision. I was wondering about the simple boys from the small towns and small villages in Russia who found themselves in the army. And actually, I'm very how to say that's the word. I'm very grateful for them, because they accepted me among them, and they was very natural. He didn't try to show me something to make a scene or something, but I spent lots of time with them. It was during several years I came to film them. So
So
it was a human aspect was I was interested in, and actually spending the time with these guys, I hope I was able to share it with another people, you know, who watching the film.
And given what you say, were there any kind of clear-cut restrictions, limits on what you could do, where you could go? Was anything set out for you, or was it purely nod and a wink and following your understandings?
Oh yeah, you know, it's everybody knew I'm with the camera, so there was no surprise. They know that I'm filming, but I don't know. Sometimes the high ranks they was trying to put me on something, but I was just hanging with the simple boys. So I was spending time with them, was filming them, and I couldn't go on a mission with them, so I gotta stay with the train during the training period. And now it was. I was pretty surprised. There was no much troubles during the filming. There once with the FSB guys, you know, it's like the military and the FSB. It's different structures, and the FSB is like, you know, it's like security, like ancient KGB stuff. And so they're monitoring the work of the military. And there was some issues with one of them, but it was settled.
And in terms of what Dima's colleagues and friends, who the people in the film who knew him and remembered him, was there much work involved in kind of eliciting what they wanted to say about him, or is what we see on the screen very kind of immediate and natural, that just was what it was? Or did you have to kind of prepare them?
No, I think it's a matter of time actually you spend with the people you film. After several times they just they get used to the presence of the camera and my presence also, so it was about natural life I was looking for. And sometimes only one I asked them, you know, to talk about the situation, the mission situation which happened and how was it happened. And I think it was only one time there was something prepared, you know, when it's in night they were speaking about the mission. And now sometimes there was some spontaneity, they wanted to tell me something, you know, like was the guy who's talking about his dream of Dima. He came to see me and say, you know, I was dreaming about Dima, and just tell me about it. So he told me, but I was trying to be the most natural and most honest as possible. So that was the objective, to stay true. I don't know, and that's what I'm looking for.
So how long were you with them overall, the whole time?
I started to film 1 year after it, so it was in 2014, and I finished in 2016. But it was not. I wasn't spent
Continuous,
3 years.
Yeah.
It was from time to time. Every 3 months I spend. But I tried to, when I came, I'm trying to spend several weeks with them. But it was pretty spread in time actually.
Right.
During 3 or 4 years. 3 years.
And one of the kind of the richnesses and tensions of watching the film is the way you've structured it. This kind of circularity of there's this great circle of life and death that we kind of see in it because of the structuring absence of your cousin, of course. And then, I mean, there's a new life coming through, and of course we start to impose. We start to guess questions about futures and outcomes on everyone that we're watching too. So we think about where they're going and what they will become. and then we also wonder to what extent we are imposing that, or to what extent those thoughts, you know, how those thoughts work for the subjects in the film. You didn't kind of push them to talk in great existential terms about their futures, of course. But were you, I don't know, how much were you feeling that in their company at the time, and how much of that is a kind of function of the editing the piece of art?
I don't know. It's I think I was feeling much more that I was thinking during the work. So I wasn't telling myself I'm gonna make some movie about the cycles of life and death. It's more now when I'm watching the film, I'm thinking about it, and maybe you share these thoughts with me or feelings. But actually, I didn't understood the question. So.
No, I think it was an observation masquerading as a question.
Thank you very much. I'm really sorry.
And I mean, you know, I'll probably throw another one at you now. But there's kind of, you know, one of the other, I think, dialectics or tensions in the film is between their individuality, the individual characters, and this the way in which they are being kind of forced into a group, and all the impositions of trying to remove their personalities and their individualities, and they're all, you know, from your early shot of the heads being shaved and so forth, they're being transformed into this part of the group, the greater whole, for purposes other than their own individual destinies. But it's never a complete, you know, process, is it? You're always seeing their individualities even when they are part of a group shot or something. So,
actually, I'm very glad that you're saying that, because that's what I found when I came in. The army and the government, they're trying to erase the personality, individuality, and make something machine that just follow the orders. And actually, even us, the civilian guys, for us, the army is like a green mess. But what I found, I think was the most important discovery I made after I spent my time there. I understood that army will never succeed to do this. It's still boys, and the personality, it will be still there. It still sounds, and it actually gives me. It's encouraged me. I don't know. It gives me hope for our humanity, because it's stronger. That's all this bullshit and this shitty efforts of some, I don't know, angry person or whatever. Sorry, it makes me a little bit
angry. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's pretty fascinating watching the film and seeing how you shape that, and sometimes hold some emotions at bay, and like I say, the last shot kind of lets them out quite strongly, but you're kind of offsetting all sorts of different things that you might want to express.
Yeah, I think it's the film is based more than it's based more on emotions that we try to not show, to carry on with, and it's always trying to going out. And I think this is the energy of the film when you're trying to, I don't know the English word to say that, when you do with your emotions, when you don't want to show them and go them out. Repress. Yeah. So it's about the repressed emotions mostly, I think. And for me, it was very important to know, as I said before the screening, to make kind of manifesto or something like this, because for me it's still propaganda, for something or against something. It's still manipulating of the mind. So I just wanted to show you how it goes, and it's up on you to make some conclusions and to think about it, because sometimes the people say, "No, you're not enough against something." I think I'm pretty against something, but I got it's just by the respect for the people who see the film actually. So hope you wasn't so disturbed by the absence of some discourse or something like this.
So can I ask you how, if there are kind of gradations of reaction from different audiences, starting with your family, how it has worked for them, or?
We've seen the film together with my family. Even before, when it was pretty finished, I was needed to be pretty sure what I'm doing, and I've got the real support from them, even if it was pretty hard to watch it, of course. But I think they appreciate the effort. They saw me working on it during the years, and they feel that I made it with all my love, and they appreciate them, even if it's hard for them about their son, and they see themselves on the screen. It's pretty hard. My aunt actually, she was pretty jealous for my uncle. She said, "Oh, he looks so great in frame with all his energy, and I'm always moving, so the camera can't catch me up." So, and the guys from the army who is on the screen, they saw the film also, and actually the guys in the army, they pretty in the anti-war films because it's speaking about their lives, and they know it better than us. And the only moment it's about the fire sequence, they did not like, well, why? What is this? Why did you put it in? The people will think that it's us who throw in the girls in the fire. No, it's metaphorical. What? It was so funny. It's like, okay, I understood you don't like this sequence. I like it much. It's important for me. Let's talk about the rest. It's okay. So, no, I just saw it. They're so blocked, with this sequence. So, but they accept it also because, by the respect. I think so. I'm very grateful for these guys.
I was quite interested or taken by the scene where they are discussing the books they're going to read when they get back home again, and their kind of their cultural life. And I don't want to generalize about equivalent British soldiers or what have you, but I guess that is marked in the film because if I understand the scene, that someone then comes in on the radio who's been listening to them, and there sets up a kind of contrast between them and the people in Dagestan that they would then be going out to fight with, who are called rock-free mountain people, and I think that they're mocked that means that they're not people of culture in the same way who would be off to read literature, right?
No, I don't think it's but
no.
But it's
am I reading too much into it? Okay.
The sequence, it was actually the sound we hear. It's not editing. It's like it was during the train, but there were some smart guys who succeeded to not participate in the trainings because they will do some sport competition after, so they could go to lie on the bed. And actually, the shots and the radio conversation, it was like 100 meters away, and it was a train for hostage situation. So there was some soldiers who was playing the terrorist, and as you saw, they've got kind of pretty hard sense of humor, and it was part of it. But I was interested in, it's a fragility of life, and all these boys, lying on the bed, and kind of real war who was just nearby, that could touch them in any moment, actually. So it was the sequence of, you know, the contrast between war and peace.
Okay. Okay.
And the books, I don't know. It's not like it's very hard to make the how to say the common image of all the people in the army. They're very different, but maybe I was hanging with friends of my cousin. It was a pretty gentle guys who read the books and playing chess, actually.
Right.
And they're different, and actually we are thinking that it's like war killing machines or something like this, but actually not. Maybe it's like 1% of all this, I don't know, thousands of people. It's just the young boys who, with the circumstances of life, just they are in. This is it. And actually, you know, I was talking about the dehumanization effort of the army, and I wanted to share with you, you know, to not to put yourself in this trap. Don't think about them like a green mess, you know. That's what the angry men in the government and the army wanted us to do, you know, to don't think about them as individuals, and it's a huge error.
And the line where someone mouths off about this fucking crazy system, was that kind of exceptional, or was that fairly common that they would describe what they were doing in those terms?
No, it's hard to, you know, for me to speak for everybody in the army, but as I said, this is their lives, you know. For us, we made 1 hour of the film. It's like, oh, it's so violent, but they live it day by day, and they know better than us what it means. But there is a double. They continue to do this, but when I was trying to speak about it, they was pretty sad, actually, you know, that they almost all of them, they're trying to quit the army after the first or the second contract, because it's actually in there are very few career person. They just you know, they spend 1 year in the army for their service, and they was told like, you're a grown man, you must be independent and all this stuff, and they just can't go back to their parents' houses. They need some money, and the state doesn't able to propose them something. So they stay in the army. They say, okay, I will sign the contract for 3 years. I will do some studies, and after that I will find the job. And in the end of the contract, they spend 4 years in the army, and only this. They're trying to get some job, and there is no job, so they send in. So it's like, I don't know, the cycle of. I know it's like criminality. You know, it's very hard to go out. Why am I talking about it?
So how does it? Have you played it more widely in Russia? What can you sort of discuss whether it would look differently to kind of broad Russian audiences to how it does outside Russia?
Yeah, actually, it wasn't screened in Russia yet, so I don't know how the audience will react. But I don't know, maybe it's not so representative because it was in Berlin, and there was lots of Russian people in the cinema, but maybe it's not so, I don't know, representative because it's immigrants who left to Europe, so I don't know. I'm wondering myself how it will be received.
And will it? What kind of distribution opportunities do you think it'll get?
It's hard to say. There is a festival, a good one, Ardok Fest, but this one is very anti-Putin and anti-Kremlin festival, very engaged politically, and that's why actually I decided to go for this one and not for the official one, because for me it's always also like a kind of statement. I put this film in anti-Putin's festival. And I don't know, actually now the guys who making laws, become really crazy nowadays, and there is no limits. And actually, they prohibited all the films with explicit language. So it's not allowed to see people saying bad words, you know. So. And actually, you saw the translation, and there was a few more bad words in it, which wasn't translated.
It's been cleaned up for an international audience.
No, I just, I don't know, I tried to do, I'm not a translator, but it was adapted. I don't know, so I don't know, it's a mystery for me now, how it will be, the life of the film in Russia. We'll see.
Yep.
I will tell you.
Okay. Would anyone else like to ask a question? Okay, we've got roving mics, so your questions will be documented.
Thank you very much, and congratulations for such a good piece of art. What I wanted to ask is actually two questions regarding the process of filmmaking. So, in order to get permission or authorization by the army to shoot in their premises, do you have to compromise in any way your discourse, or to compromise that you will show the film to them before it could be screened or something like that? And the second question would be, how big was your crew when you were filming there? So were you only by your own with a little camera, or were there several people there?
Thank you very much. Thank you. It was my advantage, actually. We're not well organized in Russia, so we discussed. I never promised them to make something glorious about the army or something propaganda or whatever. I just said that I want to make a film about my cousin, and this is it. And actually, the guys who we see on the screen, the characters, they saw the film. For me, it was important also that everything fine for them. But I've never showed for the official ones. So I don't know the reaction, but there was no kind of redaction or something like that. They was trying to ask me to bring them the material, and I said, yeah, maybe it's lots of later, tomorrow, mañana. So they will discover one day, maybe. Yeah, it's even there is a service like a communication service in the army, but I was pretty ignorant of them actually. And the second one was about the crew. There was different situations. There was sometime I was all alone with the camera with the guys, like when we see during the trainings in the woods and all the stuff. But there was a cameraman, a good friend of mine. We worked with him on my first film, and he's living in Novosibirsk, and my family knows him, so he was somebody they knew already. And he helped me a lot, especially for the beautiful images. All the beautiful images you see, it's him, and not beautiful, it's mine. And but especially he helped me during the family moments when I should be there, like a member of the family on the cemetery and in the church. And so we discussed. We know each other pretty well, so he knows how and when and what, and so we just discussed briefly, and he did it. And there was just only one moment. There was a second cameraman. It was for the exam for the red beret. As there was like 2 groups of 60 people, it was pretty, and was running and jumping and all this all the day long. So I decided to put the second one to get more angles and all this stuff. And actually, this exams, it's a mix of 2 years, so as they do the same thing. And the second time I was all alone. I was trying to run with them as I could, but I wasn't able to run as them. So, but Actually, it was every time I decided if it was very important for me to be by myself. It's for these relationships, for the naturalism of the situation, to not disturb the people I'm filming. Thank you.
Question a few rows back.
There was another question.
There's someone right at the back, isn't there? But is there still a question right at the back? Okay, there we go. So.
Okay, solved.
Hello, thank you very much for your film.
Thank you.
What was that ritual? And how does it speak to the rest of the film for you? Thank you.
Actually, the purpose of this sequence is to make you feel something and think something about it. And if I said it's about this and about that, it will break all the purpose. Actually, it's pretty. I don't want to be snob or artistic or whatever to say. It's a metaphorical sequence, but it is actually. So I can't say you nothing about it. But I would like to ask you, what did you think about it, and what was your relation you made with the film? Bam. Or maybe every opinion is welcome. I'm very interested in different interpretations actually, because there is no wrong answer. Don't worry. You don't want to share with us your no?
Okay, so there's a fire, and there's people around the fire, and men are playing to throw the girls that have like folkloric dresses, and they're trying to throw, or not to throw them in the fire. It looks very enjoyable. I don't know. I don't know, where does it come from? Is it actually like a?
Yeah, it's
right, like a, I don't know.
It's a traditional. It's a ritual that I was. That was something that had to link the two opposite worlds, the family and I think it's more about something, not about really action, what they do, throwing or not throwing. It's more about state of mind and about danger. But one of the friend of mine, he called it. He said it's a dream, the soldier's dream on the third month on the mission when there is no girls at all. So it's not what I was thinking about, but he got a point also. So.
I think I was just trying to talk about, add to that, because we have it in my culture as well. It's like we call it the Red Wednesday, longest summer night, and people celebrate that night, sort of like rebirth. Is that connected to that? Is it connected to that summer, longest night in the summer? Something like this, is it?
Not on the film, not for the film actually. But there is something about rebirth also, maybe, or sacrifice. But okay. Yeah, it's no problem. I don't want to be, to make a huge mystery about it. So I don't want to give, too much information to kill the process on your mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because I like to think, all this kind of, like military training, really heavy, and then you come to something really peaceful, something like really ritual. I like to keep that balance. I like to think about it more, and I would like to analyze it.
Thank you. Okay. No, it's made for it. So you're very, very welcome. Thank you. No, really.
Okay. So one more question just behind you.
Hi, thanks a lot. It was a very strong film. Well done. Just two things. One is it wasn't clear to me that they were conscripts, and that might have made the viewing of the film quite a lot different, because in the UK we don't have conscripts, military conscription. Yeah?
Consequence?
A conscript is when you have to do your army service. Which, yeah.
Yes, so, and it wasn't clear. So and what came across really well to me was that they were boys, and that's very strong, and that's what happens here. It's children, basically, get put into the army, and they attempt to turn them into these killing machines, and that came across very strongly in your film. The other thing was that there was very little speech from the aunt and uncle, from his parents. We didn't hear very much from them, just a few snippets, and I understand why you did that. But were there other longer discussions from anybody that you chose not to use in the film? Did you do any interviews and decide not to use them, or did you decide right from the very beginning not to do that kind of structure? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Actually, when I started to work on this film, I think the situation was so strong that I felt that the words, they are too weak to explain, to bring something. So I was trying to do it with a cinematic language, with the image and sound. And I think it's very hard to explain something with the words about this situation like this. So it was quite decision that there will be more silence than words in the film. And my uncle, he doesn't speak much, as you see, and actually I think that he not explain but express come on the first. It's expressed lots of things with his silence. And my aunt, the problem with her, she's so strong person, so she never wants to show to other people how difficult it's for her. And actually, she asked me, "Don't ask me the questions, please. You are here, so you will stay here, so you can do what you think is right, but don't ask me no questions." So but there was one moment in the beginning of the film when she was speaking about the military service, when it was started. And sometimes the people ask me why there is no interview with the soldiers, with why they're in the army and what they're doing in the army and what they're thinking about the army. The film is about Dima and his life, and I think it's too hard to choose from all these people somebody who will express the situation, because they're different. So it was a decision I made during the filming to not bet on the words, but try to tell the story otherwise.
Okay, I'm afraid that's all we've got time for, but
There was one more question.
I
Last one.
think no, I'm afraid not. I'm sorry.
No negotiations.
No.
We're not in Russia.
My
it's
throat is on the block. Alexander, thank you very much.
Thank you.